Through every duelist's experience in the game, we are faced with challenges that we must overcome. Through most, they rise, and for others, they fall. But can you rise to the challenge? What is up, YouTube? HPJ here, and it's time for another Yu-Gi-Oh! Retrospective. And I wanted to give that immediate intro because I wanted to talk about the next game, as you can see here. The 7 Trials of Glory, Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship Tournament 2005. And funny enough, this is the name for the North American release. But if you're in EU, this game is called Yu-Gi-Oh! Days of the Duelist World Championship Tournament 2005. And for those who live in Japan, where this game was first released, this is known as Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters International 2, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters International 1 is Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2004. So this game was first released in Japan December 30th of 2004. This game was followed up in its release for the NA in February 15th of 2005, and 2 days later, February 17th, in EU for 2005. Yes, so this game, at the time of this recording, is only a couple of days away from being 20 years old. Yeah, and while talking about it, there's a lot of different things in this game that definitely broke the mold for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card games and the video games to follow up. So what are these changes? What are the major things about them? Well, before I go any further, I'm sure many of you would like me to talk about the promotional cards for this game, which, funny enough, and ironically enough, they are probably the same ones that have been in rotation for the video games, so trust and believe there's nothing real spectacular for them. But sure, I'll read them all for you. If you're in the NA, you receive Silent Swordsman level 7, Kaiba Man, and Mind Control, which makes their appearances here. If you're in the EU for French, German, and Italian, you also receive these cards. But if you're in the Spanish speaking languages, you also receive those cards as well. Okay, so there was really no big differences. And I think this was the first time where all of them have the same cards introduced. Now, if you were playing this in the Japanese version and you received it, you also got the same cards. Oh, wow. So everybody got the same card. Silent Swordsman level 7, Kaiba Man, and Mind Control. If you don't know what these cards are, you must be very new to the game. Kaiba Man is basically Kaiba with a Blue Eyes helmet on, and his effect is that you contribute this card to such a summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or deck. Then, Mind Control allows you to take control of one monster your opponent controls, but it cannot be used for tribute summon and cannot attack. Silent Swordsman level 7, if I'm not mistaken, is a level 7 light attribute warrior type monster. He has 2800 attack and 1000 defense, and says cannot be normal summoned or set, but he's also summoned by Silent Swordsman level 5 and cannot be summoned by other ways. Negates all spells effects on the field, and this was the boss monster, one of the boss monsters for Little Yugi and the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime and manga. So, now that we've gotten through the, of course, cards that are used for the promotion, let's talk about this game overall. So, Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2005, the 7 Trials, basically takes a lot of inspirations from its previous predecessors, Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2004, and Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards, as well as a little bit of inspiration from Yu-Gi-Oh! Stairway to the Destined Duel. Now, what is this whole wave of things here? Well, if many of you know, this game, or, well, for those who don't know, because you'll be playing it once the Early Days collection comes out within a couple of weeks at the time of this recording. We're only, maybe 2 weeks or so away from its release, and I know many people cannot wait because the Harpie Feather Duster comes with the physical copies. If you're not copying those, there's going to be normal monsters released in the Japanese version that are going to be Prismatic Secret Rare, which is nice. And they're really doing a lot to promote these cards and all the experiences that you'll have in it. And basically all the safety nets that you can have, because they're going to release these games with codes and everything that you can be able to play the game without having to do the hassle like we did when we were younger, who were playing these games legitimately. So thanks, Konami, but not really. Anyway, for the nostalgia boner, I'll just basically get it out the way that I used to, when I first got this game, I had got it from a friend who was selling off some video games that he had to make some extra cash in college. Yep, dude, that's the college life. And this was one of a few games that I picked up. I believe it was this one. Um, there's a couple other I also picked up as well, but this one was definitely one of them. And I wanted to pick up the Pokemon Emerald game, but I decided not to. I regret it very much. I didn't get to emulate it. So, you get World Championship 2005. These 7 trials are really not actually 7 trials. I'm just going to put that out there. But it's based off of 7 various tournaments that you can enter within the game. Problem with that is that through every one of these tournaments that you would like to enter, you have to wait approximately 2 weeks between the tournaments so that it gives you enough time to participate within the tournaments themselves. Yes, I said weeks because just like Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship, Yu-Gi-Oh! Worldwide Edition, 2005 takes a day cycle. Yeah, it has week cycles in it. So from Sunday through Monday, from Monday through Sunday, you spend a whole week of experiencing various things within a world map. So in this world map, you have 5 selected areas. You start off with 4. You have your hometown, you have the shopping area, where is Yugi's grandfather in his shop. You have the Coliseum, where tournaments are held, in Area Area KC, which is basically Kaiba Corp. In the Kaiba Corp building. Now, the Kaiba Corp area, which I call it, the Coliseum, and the shopping area are all where you are able to find the tournaments in the game. And then there are duelists scattered throughout each of these areas. Within the Coliseum, within the area that's outside the Coliseum, within Yugi's grandfather's shop, outside the shop, and Kaiba Corp, and within Kaiba Corp's main area where the duels are happening, in which you can find duelists. Now, this game takes a particular turn as well as in Yu-Gi-Oh! World Champ, and Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards, you were awarded domino money for defeating duelists. Well, in this game, this is the first game to introduce DP, which is duel points. And defeating each duelist awarded you duel points. And how did you get duel points? By making your opponent's life points drop to 0, doing special conditions, um, inflicting amount of damage, and then it was always scaled off of a certain division. Now, funny thing about this is that whatever rank of money that you would receive in the final area of the game, which is the Mystic Land, you got 5 times of whatever you received in terms of your wins from the opponents that you face there. Now, in the regular areas, you have a mixture of iconic duelists throughout the series, and you also have various NPCs that you're able to duel. No, literally, you can duel a dog, you can duel a cat, you can duel the lady from across the street, you can duel someone's grandpa, someone's grandma, someone's sister, a model, a crazy biker, and all types of things. It's not too far off from what you've experienced in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards. And even more so, the area itself looks like it's ripped from Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards because it literally looks like that entire world map that they had included. And more so, probably a little more detailed with Graffiti Destruction. And before anyone asks me, no, I have not played Graffiti Destruction, which it will be eventually played, and I will talk about it, as well as some of the other games that I have not gotten to yet, so don't worry. Now, for this game itself, while it introduces DP, it brings back the code machine. Yeah, it's no longer part of your main screen. No, you literally can go to Yugi's grandfather's shop, and the machine is right there. Now, this is the thing about this machine: you cannot get multiple cards from this machine. You can only get the cards once, and hopefully, at that point in time, once you've gotten that card, you at least open the packs that are in the game to get multiples of that card. Now, why would I say that? Because, well, there's 2 machines, but the other machine is more expensive than the machine you have in Yugi's grandpa's shop. And it's not limited. How expensive? Well, you're paying 1K DP to use Yugi's grandfather's machine, despite the fact that this machine itself is a mixture between, you know, the BS that is given to you in the story. But you can only use it once because they wanted to limit people taking abuse of it, like I guess they did before, which is weird because how could we? We can only enter the card once, and the card pool was only selected of what cards were available for a certain period of time. Thanks, Konami. And if you wanted to enter multiple cards, which thankfully other games fixed it, they just raised the DP for it. You could go to the Mystic area. Now, how do you access the Mystic area? Well, this goes into the whole main section of the game. So, I told you earlier that there were areas in which you participated in tournaments. Well, you have to participate in these tournaments a number of times in order to get to the preliminaries of the championship rounds for nationals. Once you've done that, all of these and you've completed the game, and you've gone through the credit scene, you will then be able to go to the Mystic area. Once you go into the select area screen, you will then be able, it will then indicate to you that, hey, there's another area available, and you can go up and select that area, which is the Mystic Land. It looks like a dark cave, like a dark void, and that is where the ghouls are, the rare hunters. You know, Loomis, Umbra, Rare Hunter, Merrick, Odeon, Arcana, and Strings. And on certain days, you can even run into Yami Merrick, Yami Bakura, and even Yami Yugi, who's in those areas. Just a heads up of some. Well, there'll be some things that I'll talk about and why this area can be very dangerous if you're not prepared. And it is very dangerous if you're not prepared. And I've seen some crazy shenanigans as well. So, one of the things about this game itself is that it introduces the band section of the game. That's right. This is the first game to introduce the band section. Now, if you've ever played Yu-Gi-Oh! The Trading Card Game, that you know the band card section came about 2004, late 2004, because things had gotten really out of hand with a lot of cards. And to progress gameplay and stuff like that, Konami decided to drop the Forbidden section, where cards were no longer allowed to be in your deck. So you had limited, semi-limited prior to, and then they added the ban section. This game takes a hand of that and does it in a very weird way. They have it on a weekly cycle. So, like I told you before, there was a week cycle within this game, so Monday through Sunday. Well, this game also takes in prior to that and using it for its ban list, where from Monday through Sunday, you're only able to use certain cards that in their selective range. So, the cards that are banned can either be limited or semi-limited, or they cards that are semi-limited can be limited. It's like the cycle just goes through to keep the variety of the game itself and you the player on a strategic balance of things. So you're never going to hold on to Dark Hole or Rekeki for too long, because eventually one or both can easily be banned. Then there are the restrictions of certain tournaments. So what are these restrictions? Well, the restrictions of the tournaments are based off of the ban list. However, if you enter the limited tournaments, which you can access through the Coliseum after 2 weeks of not entering tournaments, you're then able to access the limited duels. Limited duels basically say you cannot play certain cards in your deck, like no wind, no traps, no spells, all monsters. So only normal monsters, stuff like that. And it's funny enough because reading through the Yu-Gi-Oh! Wiki, there were only a certain set of duelists that cheat through these rules, and that's Yugi, Joey, and Kaiba. Of course, the main three would be able to break the rules because they break the rules so many times. And throughout it, you really do experience Yu-Gi-Oh! In such a different array than you normally would. It's really a decent enough game, I'm not gonna lie. And while I do feel cheated because a lot of cards were not included, because as you know, the release date is February 15th. So you don't get the full aspect of cards that were released within the 2005 era. You only get what was released for 2004. So that means, yes, you get up to Invasion of Chaos OCG and any promotional cards and releases till then. So no TCG exclusives, which weren't too big at that point. And even then, you were only relegated to the plethora of normal monsters, the handful of effect monsters, your 220 spells, and your 105 traps. It's funny enough because the previous World Championship game had more trap cards and even more spells than this game did in its inclusion. And it's crazy because most of those cards that are in this game were not released in that game because of time constraints. And I think it may have to either do with Konami wanting to release a World Championship game as soon as possible, or there was some issues between them and Nintendo. Nintendo was like, hey, you need to hurry up and give us a game. Because remember, years later, with the World Championship games, there was always a World Championship game. There was always like an in between game for the GX era, and then Konami also did the Tag Force games as well for the PSP because the PSP had became the biggest handheld on the block next to the DS. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll be honest to say it, I think the PSP games were a lot better in terms of handling Yu-Gi-Oh than any of the Game Boy any of the Game Boy or DS games because they weren't limited to things and they can always easily update them, with a snap of a finger. While you had issues with Wi-Fi and stuff even at the beginning of the eras of Wi-Fi. So yeah. Now in terms of this game's overall consent, like I told you, there are tournaments in each area. So the area that you have with the Coliseum is your weekend duels or your duels for your limited duels. Yuki's grandfather has duels as well, and if you what was it? Oh, if you impress him enough on certain days, he will give you the chance to enter his card shop tournament, which happens on Tuesdays in the game, and you can only and those are normally when the shop is closed, and they're closed because he's having these tournaments. Once you beat the opponents, then you're able to duel him, and after a certain amount of time, you'll be able to access more duelists in the area. Once you defeated him, I do believe Mako, Rex, Weevil, and Mai will be accessible in the game to battle as opponents, and yes, they will be floating around. If you play in the weekend duels, there's a chance that they will appear along with Joey, Yugi, Taya, and Tristan, who are in the game as well. Oh, and Bakura. I keep forgetting about Bakura. But he's also in the game as well. Then there's, Rich Boy Kaiba. There's Yami Yugi, who also appear, but they appear more so when you enter the Kaiba tournaments. Because there is a 50% chance that Yami Yugi will appear as an opponent in the weekend duels or in the limited duels. It depends on how the game wants to hit that random generator. And then there's these plethora of cards that are accessible in the game. So to fit everything, there's like 10 volumes. There's special packs for spells, traps, monsters, ritual cards, fusion cards. When you get to like 77%, there's a set of packs that are released there. When you get to 90%, the all card pack appears, and then you can get all cards in the game, or try to get multiple copies of those cards. It's on the same rarity system as how you would normally would in most other games, just like the rares, the supers, the commons. And you can tell which ones are which because they'll have perfect indicators of how they look. But it's definitely a game. It is definitely a game. And once you've beaten nationals and become national champion and you see the credits, you can go to the Mystic area where you can duel against the ghouls. And on certain days, you can duel against Yami Yugi, Yami Merrick, and Yami Bakura, which is a good homage to um, their inclusions into the game. And they have their decks as well. Now, I talked about how difficult the Mystic area can get, because it can get very difficult. It's not like the other areas where you have these, very strong duelists. No, these guys play with cards that are technically supposed to be banned. Their decks are filled with multiples of it. Like Seeker has the Exodia pieces at 3 with 3 Gracefuls, 3 Pot of Greeds. Yami Merrick has an entire deck. No, I think it's a regular Merrick or Yami Merrick, but they have a deck based off of using Remove from Play, Primal Seed, Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy the End, and Blacklusted Soldier Envoy at the beginning. Odeon has his trap deck. Of course, there's a Chaos variant for Loomis and Umbra using their deck of Light and Dark monsters. Bakura has his zombie deck that does play Destiny board. Yeah, it gets really nasty. It gets really, really nasty. And the overall consent of the game itself at that point is that, well, you can enter this area and use decks as well with those banned cards. But please do remember that you cannot use these decks against your regular opponents in the regular areas because Mokuba will call you out on it and tell you, hey, you need to fix your deck before you play because you have cards in it that are not legal. So do be careful of that. In addition to that, in its overall montage, yeah, you have your regular tournaments, your normal tournaments. Oh, I forgot about the World Championship tournaments. Well, national tournaments, but you can only get those because here's the weird thing about the tournament selection. You only enter them after a 2 week period, and you have to have not entered another tournament within those 2 week periods. Yeah. And you get nice little trophies in your house too. By the way, you have a house where you can go and save, but you only select the save while selecting the B button and scrolling through. Your menus, options, and everything will show you your status, how much money you have, what cards are banned, limited and semi-limited. Then there's also the deck construction part of your select screen. So you can hold up to 20 decks through various cards. Most of them I just use for any like special decks that are held, and then I have my 5 that are already set. So it's still a great way to have everything accessible. You can use those special decks too, because that's really, really cool. And yeah, it's just a really amazing lineup of things that are in the game itself and progresses the game itself. I mean, the game is pretty good and solid, but one issue that I have with it is music. And I love the Yu-Gi-Oh video games up until that point where the music was flawless. Fortunately, World Championship 2005 does not hit the flawless music mark. Great animations, great tech, great, graphics and stuff for the cards, but the duel area is just white lines formed in the circle of a field. There's a counter to see how long you're taking with duels, and then the animation you can increase in the pause screen. So you can at least increase the animation or change the language if you wanted to. But it's just it's just a mess. And the duelists in this game were a lot more strategic than the last World Championship game. They're playing stuff like man eater bugs, low mana crossouts. They're doing 7 tools. They're doing magic jammers. Their decks are loaded. Oh God, their decks are loaded. So it really keeps you on your toes. And if you've ever played these games, trust me, these opponents keep you on your toes. Even the ones that you think are just small fry, no, they will keep you on your toes. They do have decks based off of their decks in the anime and manga or previous video games with just upgraded editions. Like Mai will have Cyber Harpie at points, and she'll have Harpie Lady at some points. So she switches between them. She was it Rex is rocking some new additions for dinosaurs. Mako has his water control deck, which got an upgrade and advancements because of the new water cards from that were released for the era of chaos. There's a lot of things in it, so it's a definitely big jump of things in the game, and many of you will get to experience it when you get to in the early days collection if you haven't already emulated it. Is there any advice that I would give? Yeah, definitely grind out in a lot of areas. Definitely play a lot of opponents. Make you a deck that is simply beat down. They actually give you a deck for beat down too. There's a lot of structure decks in this game that you can go and take a look at, and you can save those and even use those as skeletons for your own. And they're really, really good. They're really, really decent. So I definitely would say, please go ahead and take advantage of them if you can. And it's still a decent enough game that I would recommend, but I recommend the other games a lot more. So, with that said and done, my final thoughts is this is a definite World Championship game. And if you're ever going to experience this game, trust and believe it's definitely going to take you on a different experience than most of the others. So, enjoy what you can, and if you are getting the early days collection, hell, abuse any cheat codes that they give you. Trust me, you'll need them. But with that said, thank you guys so much for rocking out with me for this retrospective of Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship 2005, The Seven Trials of Glory. I will hopefully see you guys in my next retrospective video, and you guys enjoy the content to come. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, as it helps out tremendously. You hit the notification bell to be informed of when I upload more content to the channel. Social media links are in the description box below. And I will catch you all next time. HBJ signing out. Take care.